What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the recent updates for October 22nd. Today we have the Sirenic armor update in RuneScape and a few other updates as well. But first off, let's get into the Sirenic armor. By the way, my name is Hoppa or Josh. I forgot to say that, but now I said it, so let's get into the update. Anyways, so the Sirenic armor is not too different than what I detailed in my BTS for October video. I will link that in the description if you guys so choose to watch it. Um, Pretty much, it's level 90 power armor for ranged gear. It's a little bit, as far as defense goes, it's a little bit less defensive than Superior Death Lotus, and I think it's on par with the regular tradable Death Lotus. So, pretty nice. As far as looks go, it looks pretty amazing from the concept art, but of course, it's concept art. But when you look at the actual, how it actually looks on somebody, I think it looks pretty awesome. Um, I don't think I've seen any of it, but I see these sprites, and the sprites look pretty good, and I can imagine that it'll be pretty awesome to see it on somebody. But it looks very marine, and other than it being totally based on like a deep blue or a royal blue, um, the whole armor looks pretty nice. It's got little patches of green, little strands of green, making it look all nice and fancy. So it's definitely going to be something stunning to look at, and definitely something you should be looking forward to making. Now, as far as what drops the scales, which is what the Sirenic armor is comprised of, there are, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 different monsters that will drop it, and 6 of those are the Legios. So anything in the Ascension dungeon, pretty much the Legios, the Capsarius, the Squardus, the Gladius, and the Rorarius. All of those words really roll off the tongue very, very, very easily. But anyways, so you have pretty much everything in the Ascension dungeon. You have Aqua Knights, you have Dark Beasts, and then you have Spiritual Mages. And that's all that drops them. So it's pretty rare to find. Very, very, very rare. So that's how you can get them. As far as drop rates go, it says that it's very rare for all of the non-Legios, because the Legios are bosses, and I guess that's the way that Jagex wants us to get our scales, is through killing those bosses. So it's definitely going to make keys from the Ascension Dungeon rise. So if you have any of those, definitely think about going back and camping a little bit and getting some keys, because they're not that rare. So definitely think about that if you want to make some quick bucks right now. Alright, so we've got that. Um, to sew these Sirenic scales together, you need to use algarum, there you go, thread. And it requires anywhere from 91 to 93 crafting, depending on which armor piece you're trying to make. The helm requires 91, the chaps require 92, and the torso piece requires 93. Pretty simple. And I believe you can't buy the Sirenic on the Grand Exchange. Oh, no, you can. Never mind. I am a liar. So you can buy the Sirenic armor on the Grand Exchange if you so choose. However, as far as durability of the armor goes, it can only last for 60,000 hits before it totally disintegrates. You can't repair it. You can't really do anything with it. So it's very similar to the way tectonic robes are. So you've got that. It's pretty nice. It looks pretty stunning, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting some of these, because if you guys don't know, I'm doing a series where I'm trying to get my Ascension crossbows from scratch, so I'm assuming I'm probably gonna run into some Sirenic scales at some point. One more thing worth mentioning is that the Algarum thread costs about 500k per unit, and additionally, you need one Algarum thread to make the Sirenic mask, two Algarum threads to make a set of Sirenic chaps, and then three Algarum threads to make a Sirenic hauberk. So it's definitely going to cost you quite a bit to just make them, but I'm thinking it's going to be worth it because I mean it's some pretty awesome gear from what it sounds like. So I mean there's the risk versus benefit there, and it's up to you guys to make that. So that's about it for the Sirenic armor. It's a pretty cool update, pretty nice and simple, and I'm figuring that we're going to be seeing some sets of that really soon. But anyways, we need to get on with everything else that happened today, and there's two other things we need to talk about. And one is that the ultimate abilities had an update today, and then another thing that was found in the in other news section. So we'll get into that. Okay, so let's get into some of the changes made to the ultimate abilities. So we have Meteor Strike, which is a two-handed melee ultimate ability, Incendiary Shot, which is a two-handed ranged ability, and Tsunami, which is a magic ability. It doesn't require either a two-handed or dual or just single-handed. It's just a regular magic ability. They now all grant a 10% adrenaline boost per critical hit dealt in the next 30 seconds after you activate that ability. So that's pretty nice. Additionally, Tsunami also got its min damage raised to 200% of its autocast spell damage, and the max is staying at 300%. So this is just some rebalancing that Jagex is doing because of some of the feedback that people have given them, because honestly I don't think anybody has ever really used Meteor Strike outside of like the first month of EOC. And yeah, it's good. These are definitely some pretty interesting boosts. I'll be looking at them in better detail later on, and it may change how some people, I don't know, range or attack with melee, or all these other things. It could very well change how people PVM or PvP. So it's pretty interesting to see certain buff changes like this. But let's get on to the other ones. Death's Swiftness, which is a ranged ability, and Sunshine, which is a magic ability. Both of these are ultimate ability rewards from The World Wakes, if you don't remember. Pretty much both of them now last 30 seconds rather than, I believe it was 6 seconds previous to this. So that's really, really, really helpful, I think, because it was never worth actually activating either of them, but now they're making it seem more enticing. So it's a good thing. And then finally we have Pulverize, which is a two-handed melee ability. It now causes 200 to 250 of its weapon damage, and it reduces the target's damage by 25% for 30 seconds, and it restores 50% of your adrenaline if the ability actually kills your target. So this is something that people will start using, I'm pretty sure, for like PVM and general training, like for Slayer and stuff, because it's getting you back up to the threshold ability. So I think that's pretty cool, and it may be something that people use in the future, but only time will tell. and I could be very, very, very wrong with what I say. So that's about it for the buffs to the ultimate abilities. Not too much to say there other than what we've already gone over. So let's get into the in other news, which is probably one of the more interesting parts of the update today. All right. So there's three parts in the in other news that are very, very, very big updates in my opinion, and that's pretty much all that is in the in other news, believe it or not. But let's get to it, shall we? So the first thing is that loyalty point pricing of many items on the Solomon's General Store has been reevaluated with up to 40% drops in the cost. And if you've spent loyalty points on any of the items since the 2nd of December or 2nd of September, you'll be receiving a rebate very soon to make up the difference. So that's nice. Nothing too big there. But here are the kickers. Now, this is where many people are on the forums kind of being a little bit bitchy about. So let's get into it. So one of them is that all items, including degradable items, are now correctly stored in a gravestone. So that means your Tetsu, that means your Drygores, that means your Chaotix. They all get stored in your gravestone now, which is good. That's how it should be. However, the other part of this is that all degradable items will degrade by 20% on death when they would go to your gravestone. So that's a huge update. And the reason why this is a huge update is mainly for those of you who do lots of PVM and tend to die a lot. Out there are tons of bosses that are extremely easy to die at. Let's just take Virago for instance. Like, you will die at Virago or you can log out. And chances are one person is going to get screwed if for some reason your team pretty much dies on you, or I guess DCs, because at least one person needs to stay in there to keep Virago on them so that they can at least provide a distraction so that everyone else can get out. So yeah, there's that. And I mean, as far as how I feel about this, it's not that big of a deal because all it's going to do is it's going to force people to start using lower tier armor to do some PVMing. And that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, you can do Calfight King in Bandos. You can do Calfight King in, I don't know, what's the best mage armor? I'm forgetting. What's a good mage armor, honestly? I mean, you can probably do it in subjugation, but still, that's pretty bad. Anyways, so I don't know. Personally, I feel that that's a pretty harsh penalty for dying. However, it does implement that risk versus benefit thing that everybody's going on about, how there's no risk in RuneScape, and now you do risk. So there's that. I think it's gonna definitely affect Calfight King in particular because lots of the Calfight King is based on dying, like who's dead right now, who's running back, who's doing all this other stuff. Unless you're in a really good team, in which case none of this applies. But still, I think that's a pretty tough one to take. But you know what? I think I rather like it because it is tough, because it is requiring people to actually think about what they want to risk rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to Arma, I'm gonna put on full Death Lotus and boom, done. Or I'm going to Virago, okay, am I mailing? Yes. Alright, I'll put on my Drygores and I'll put on my Tetsu. Done. So, it's interesting to see this, but I don't really know what caused it. That's what I'm more interested in, is why they actually decided to change this now. But you know what? It is Jagex, and sometimes we will just never know. So, unfortunately, that's the way that goes. Um, and I think overall, I think it's an okay update. I'm just, as a PVMer, I don't really like it, but I'm sure some people will be like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever," and then you'll have people on the forums saying this is the worst update ever, as per usual. So there's that. I think that's about it, though, for the actual update. So let's get into the patch notes and all that other good stuff. Okay, if you look here in the patch notes, they detail that quick inventory slots now shift positions accordingly for many food and drink items held in containers. So if you're eating a pie and you had that set as your quick inventory, you eat that, and then what it would used to do is the pie would move to the closest square in the top left corner. So it would shift position, and then the quick inventory spot would just stay exactly where it used to be. So now you can see that it actually changes position with that item. So that's kind of cool. Other than that, there's really not much to talk about in the patch notes. There's the usual graphic updates and typos and all that great stuff. You guys can read about that. I'll link it in the description for you to read. And yeah, so that's about it for the update today. However, there was a premium newsletter that came out earlier today, so let's talk about that. So the premium newsletter, for those of you who live under a rock, is only available to the premium members who purchased that package earlier in the year. And for those of you who don't get it, then it kind of sucks to be you. However, it's a good thing we're on the internet and that people can share these things around and have it really not be such a big issue. So if you look at it, this is a post found on the RuneScape Reddit, courtesy of the user ddomino1. He put it up on Reddit, so I took it down and I'm using it however I see fit. So thanks to him for putting it up there. And yeah, as you can see, these premium members are going to get some Solomon's store items that are only or normally received through the game cards. It's really not that big of a deal. I don't think it's worth mentioning really, other than what I've already done. So that's a cool thing. Enjoy that. I'm more than happy with how my character looks, to be absolutely honest. But nevertheless, let's get on to the actual news found in this. So there's going to be an update yet again to Barrows. Now, I say yet again, but last year, in the beginning of the year, I believe, Barrows got its update where, you know, it was all graphically updated and they put in the frickin' dragon visage for no fucking reason. But for whatever case, it was updated graphically. So that was a cool thing, but now they're getting down and dirty and they're actually giving it a full update. And in in that regard, it's actually probably not going to be an add-on to the actual barrows that we see now, but more of another section of the barrows that we'll see. So what exactly am I talking about is the question here. And the answer is that they're going to be putting in a new section or a new dungeon, probably in the vicinity of the barrows, where you can face off against three brothers at once, and you are required to dispatch all of them before the other three spawn. So that gives me the impression that you have a limited amount of time to kill the first three. I don't know how they select which three you go up against. I'm hoping that it's going to be entirely random, but I guess we'll have to see about that one. But getting back to what I said, the other three are meant to spawn after that. And we don't know in what conditions or under what circumstances they will spawn, but it seems like after some amount of time, or after you've dealt some amount of damage, or after you've taken some amount of damage, the other three will spawn back in. And yeah, this is just meant to make it tougher on the person because, as you all should know, Barrows right now is very, very, very easy. So there's that. That's kind of cool. But there's also another part, and it's that you can fight the Barrows leader. Now, we don't know exactly who that is. I was under the impression that Sliske was the Barrows leader, kind of. But I guess he's more of the Barrows brothers' masters. So, it's really up to whatever Jagex decides there. But the main goal of this is to make Barrows tougher and more lucrative for other higher level players. And there is a reason to go there, and it's that you can pick up new level 90 armor for all classes, and it includes shields. So that's definitely some place that all really high level players should definitely go check out when it's released. Other than that, there really wasn't much else in the premium newsletter. So if you guys didn't get it, don't feel too bad about it. I didn't get it either. We can high five, internet high five. I just slapped my monitor. That's probably not the best thing to do. But yeah, there's just three quick other things. There's the Harbingers of Tuska, which are going to be new high-level Slayer creatures that drop parts of a mask that will reward XP in a skill of your choice. Now, we don't know if that choice is limited to, let's just say, combat skills or to specific other skills, but we'll see. I'd like to assume that we could potentially, hopefully, be able to spend that in divination, because I kind of like spending stuff in divination because that's something that I do. But yeah, hopefully it's something where we can spend it in any skill, but that remains to be seen. And then, of course, we have the Lumbridge Build-a-thon, which everyone should know about already because they've sent out a BTS about it. I've done something on it for the BTS for, I think it's October. It's planned to be probably next week or something like that. So that'll be interesting. So it's just the same information as usual. And then they mentioned their Christmas event, which they say absolutely nothing about. So they just say, we're having a Christmas event, so we can't tell you what our details are for that. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. I don't really know why they bothered to mention that they're having a Christmas event, because I think they've had one for every year since like the dawn of time. I don't know. They've had one yearly every fucking year. So I don't see why they bothered even just mentioning it and not saying anything about the details. But who knows? It's Jagex. They work in their mysterious ways. That's going to be about it, though, guys. Please be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, all that great stuff. And I will see you later on in another video. So until then, good night.